our review of Stamp Swap by Stonemaier Games.
Hey gang, welcome to the Tantrum House Studio 3. I'm Will.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Melissa.
Katie.
And I'm Kevin, and today we're talking about Stamp Swap, new game from Stonemaier Games. We have this video divided into a few categories, the theme, and then our maybe likes and dislikes category. But before we do that, Melissa's going to give us a quick overview of the game.
It's time for the annual Stamp Swap and Show, where collectors converge to gather, trade, and display their tiny postal treasures. Stamp Swap is for 1 to 5 players. It plays in about 30 to 60 minutes. Now this is a competitive set collection game with a little bit of I split and you choose. This is divided into 3 days of a stamp collection convention, and on each day you're going to collect stamps by drafting them. Some will be face up, some will be face down. There'll also be specialist cards and other things that you can draft. Then you take what you have collected, you reserve some, usually 1, you split them into 2 groups, and then you swap. Finally, once you've gotten your stamps after the swap, you put them into your collection, trying to arrange them in the best way to get points based on the specific cards displayed for your game. At the end of 3 rounds, the player with the most points wins.
Alright, so I think we gotta start by just talking about who among us was geeky enough to have a stamp collection.
Wow.
That wouldn't have been my guess, actually.
Baseball cards.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we still have your baseball.
Still, you guys don't see. Yeah, so no, I was not, and I have to admit, I wasn't really drawn in by the theme of the game. Maybe that's why. But when I saw the box cover, I was just like,
I have to say, I had a stamp collection. My dad works for the post office.
That's right.
I am
makes
not
sense.
drawn into the theme.
Oh, you get there.
But you
okay.
had a big, did you get into stamp collecting because of your dad?
No.
You had a secret self-passion without your
No,
dad?
we had something with school
Okay.
that there was information about it, and then they gave out a bunch of stamps, and then
It was the post office. They were trying
It
to
probably
get you
was.
to buy
It was like I
stamps.
think
Worked
it
on
was
your
some
dad.
type of field trip type thing, and but it was an at school field trip. So that's how it all started. But
I would say I was pretty not super excited and not super negative. Katie?
Well, I liked Stonemaier Games, so I was like, oh, I'm
try
gonna give this a try.
But-
I'm not into stamp collection.
Okay.
So the theme was like, meh for me.
Okay.
I mean, I like set collection and tile laying, so it doesn't usually matter to me what
But yeah.
I'm
that's
collecting
kind
and
of
laying
how
tiles for.
That's
Yeah.
how I am.
And that's really what I thought. When you told me the theme, I was kind of like, meh. But then when you told me the mechanics, I was like, makes sense. Why isn't there a stamp collection game? Like,
Right.
it's the perfect stick stuff on a board type of thing. So it works really well for the theme that it is.
Yes, agreed. And the art was really nice, so
Yeah.
that made the theme worth it for me.
Like all the different art on the stamps?
Yes, the individual art on the stamp.
Katie was literally
Yeah.
just taking my collection because I had flowers, not any, no point value
Will
whatsoever.
was trying to collect flowers for points, and I was going, look at how beautiful that stamp is. I'm taking this one from you, Will.
That reminds me of castles of Mad King Ludwig. Some people will just build their
beautiful
castle
looking
just
house.
because they want the certain rooms or how it looks or things like that.
Right.
So,
Has
Yeah.
anyone ever been to a swap meet or whatever they were doing? I didn't realize that was happening when they said that we were at a convention. I thought we were just putting them in our own personal books. I missed that part of the theme, but it actually makes really good sense as
Yeah,
to
it's
why
like-
we trading them. with
yeah, I
other
mean, you
people.
have a lot of tradable card games. You have tradable. Why not?
Like
Trade-
pins.
Yeah, the
and
tradable
stuff.
pins. So
Oh, pen game next.
It's apparently a thing.
I do like in the stamps the theme. They have the different kinds of stamps. It's not just
The
all one
categories.
kind. I think that's really important. Plus, those rare stamps really catch people's eyes because of the gold foil.
And
So-
how many points you can get.
Fun fact, I have played this several times, and I have not yet ever gotten a rare stamp
Oh, really?
into my
They're rare.
book.
They're rare. I happened to pull a lot of them this last game, and especially at the end of the game, and I got some major
The
points.
secret
Yeah.
face down ones.
It
Yeah.
wasn't the only thing that gave you major points.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I think theme wise though, it does actually play really well. Like the theme and the components and the things
Yeah.
you're doing in the game make
Noth-
really good sense. which I
Nothing
like.
felt like forced.
Out of place, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Why don't we move to our maybe dislikes first before we move into our. We'll end the video on our likes. So
The sandwich.
yeah, we'll
method.
say.
Sure.
So what are some things that you're like not as a fan of for this game?
I don't know that it stands out playing game for me. I think there's a lot of things that are very similar to a lot of other tile.
Okay.
That doesn't mean I won't play it, because I will play every tile laying game that comes to the table.
You're just concerned that because there's
but
a lot
I
of
don't know
tile
that
games
there's
out there.
anything innovative about it.
Okay.
I agree that the cards that were like, you're going to score based on this tile placement were things that we're all familiar with. But I was actually okay with that because for me, this wasn't really a tile placement game. This was a set collection, I split you choose drafting game. So the fact that it happened to have tile placement in there as well, it was like in the mix of 5 things. I wasn't thinking I got to do really well in the tile placement, but
So the one thing I dislike, and I'm not sure how to frame this, there's 3 different scoring times at the end of each day, and your first scoring time, it just appears that you're just trying to get like the one that you get some points, but you're like, I'm gonna reserve these others. I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of points from these.
From
I don't
later.
know if I
First one is
like.
kind of a throwaway.
It is.
Yeah, I
It is a
feel
little
like-
bit of a throwaway because you don't have enough time to build up anything.
that-
And
first day.
and the fact that there's an additional scoring that you don't do at all. There's 4 possible ways to score points at the end of each round. You're going to pick one of them, so one you're not going to use. So you're almost picking 2 that you're not going to score very much.
I didn't like the feeling of only scoring 4 points while Kevin was over like, I could get 21 off of this one. And I was like, how?
The
I
round
really
was-
drafted 4 stamps.
No, round 1 was 9. I think 10 was. I think Sarah might have gotten the most on round 1.
Yeah.
10. Second round was 27 points for me, and then the last round was 39.
The thing I didn't like is how much Kevin beat us by.
Kevin
We broke the
was-
game.
No,
We
we didn't
literally
break
went
it.
past the
The one
scorable
there's
ladder.
another 200 point ticket.
Yeah.
It was a perfect storm of some of the cards that came into the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one thing that is sort of on my dislike, I'm still like trying to figure out how I feel about it, is there is a fair amount of randomness in this game, especially with those rare stamps, because some stamps come face up into the market, the pool, and some are face down, and someone could get a ton of those. And then you're looking at what people are offering, and I'm like, well, there's 3 face down here and 3 face down here. I guess I'll take this pile. And it's not the pile that has all of the gold in it. So, it can be somewhat random with those rare stamps. I think they're worth a ton of points, like 8 to 12 in that range.
I don't know if it's mattered honestly yet that we played where the rare stamps were the deciding factor on the like overall point spread. It does feel that. I do agree. When you're like,
Well, and I think, and I can sympathize with that a little bit because rarely does Melissa lose to me. Not that I won.
I lost terribly.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and it was because of luck things. Like I think everybody played pretty generally strategic. Some of our scores, and Katie and I tied at the end of this most recent game,
Yeah.
and like I felt like I was playing strategically, but honestly, Melissa plays more strategically than I do normally.
I
so
know.
There probably was enough luck. Yeah, the fact that Katie and I beat Melissa means there is luck in this game.
Yeah, it does. Because I did the same thing, like, what? I just passed Melissa on the score track. That never happened.
I will say that like I cut you choose is one of my weakest.
And I do like it. Yeah.
I'm sitting
Mechanisms.
here trying to figure out what did Will trick
like
me into
psychologically,
trying
yeah.
to do.
She wants this one, giving her the garbage
Yeah.
one, but this one also looks good.
Like trying to make those value judgments like really quickly of if I take this, this is my opportunity. If I take this, this is my opportunity. And now we've added in the face down stuff. So it's like, do I take the gamble or I can see these and I know they're okay.
one more dislike before we move into our likes. Talk to me about the box cover.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of the thing when you told me the theme. I was just like, nothing here is pulling me in. Just kind of a blah typeface, filling it up. Very, not muted, but just flat colors. Nothing was punching and popping. I didn't hate it.
So do you want some gold foil on here?
That would be amazing.
Ooh, maybe their deluxe edition.
There you go.
There is only one edition of this one.
I just-
Before people get
Yeah, sorry. That was just an idea for Stonemaier.
There we go. Okay, let's move to our likes.
So I'll actually piggyback on what she was saying about the I Split You Choose. I enjoy I Split You Choose, but it's not one of my favorite mechanics. But the drafting aspect of it actually made it way better. Like, I don't really know why that was so much different.
I agree. I
Yeah.
completely agree. It's because it doesn't feel as random when you are splitting then. You've made the choices of what you're going to choose between.
Right, I know I do get to keep half of this, which is great. So now I can balance it so that I don't feel robbed either way. And then whoever picks me, I'm picking the next person. Like, that little bit of going around after I already drafted what I want felt like it gave me a lot more control over the I Split You Choose than what you normally get. A lot of times it's just dump stuff out of the bag and now split it up. But the fact that I was like, okay, well, this one's worth 5 and this one's worth blue, so I'll be happy either way if I split this. Like,
And I was
that part
pulling
of the
tiles
strategy made me
like,
feel
that I'm
good.
like, I think Will might want this tile.
That's yes. There is a.
I definitely baited
There is
a
a
few
way.
people.
There's a way to try and select tiles that maybe you don't want because you have to pick somebody else's stuff. So
Yeah.
if you have them all in your own, half of them you're not getting.
Correct.
Yeah, I made that mistake on one of the rounds. I was like, uh-oh, I
You
picked
want-
too many
of
things that I
yourself.
want. I was like, oh, I need to not do that next time.
Yeah. the half that I want, and even like, and if I don't get this one, I won't be sad as long as I get this one. So I just gotta split them. So yeah, there was a lot of selecting, and then the random part was the face down part, which was the struggle, because then it was like, oh, I'm actually, this is gonna be great. I want it, but then somebody else is like, I don't know what I'm picking. It's just 2 face down
Okay,
tiles.
question. Would you have chosen the gold tile over the flower tile if I had split them up?
Probably.
Okay.
He baited me in with the. I knew I was getting a negative.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was a face down.
It was a
one,
face down
But the
negative.
other 2 I wanted, and I was like, I'll take it. -2, I don't even care.
Right,
But
yeah.
yeah, I probably would have still taken just the gold, even if you give me some other.
Yeah, I didn't have room on my board. I filled up my whole board,
He
basically.
did. It was crazy. So it was very
One of the things that I really liked and that I felt kind of mitigated some of the questionability that you said was that you have an option to reserve something.
I really like that.
And so if you do draft a tile you really like, you can just put it in a reserve and you don't have to offer it up for other people to choose from. So I think without that option, I would have felt like it was so random and I was completely out of control of what was happening. But because I had that option, I was like, yes, at least I know I'm getting something I want. So
if you get the right
like
power that lets you reserve the rare ones, then you're in there.
I was going to mention you, in addition to the stamps, you can reserve the specialist cards or some of the exhibitor cards
First
that will
player
give you
token.
points. And
Or
then,
special abilities.
even if you don't necessarily want them, you can either, if you want to reserve them, you can, or you can offer them up for other people to take.
Yeah.
And maybe stick some negatives or something.
Yeah,
in it
yeah,
with
yeah.
them.
There's some really good
Yeah.
specialists out there. I don't think they're all like equal. There's some
I
really
don't
good
think
ones.
they're all equal.
Some really, really good ones, and there's some ones that are okay. But I like that. I like that in the game. It's not just drafting tiles. There's other things that you're mixing in with the draft, which I think is key.
Yeah, I actually really did like that, and you were saying you've had very different experiences each time. I think probably it's going to be due to that because I had, like, listen, I had much less on our boards than Kevin did, but I also had like a lot of powers, a lot of extra points, I got the start token, which was giving me a couple points every time.
Yep.
So I didn't do as well. I didn't even try to focus on the tile placement. I tried to focus on the other parts. That's cool that you can have very different avenues for success.
Yeah, I like variability in games, and it does come out in the specialist cards, the exhibitor cards,
And the gold
but
cards.
also the cards that you put out at the beginning for scoring. There's 4 different types of those cards, and then there's probably at least 5 different cards of each type.
Oh,
so
wow.
each game is going to be different because of that assortment, and then the final scoring as well has separate cards. So the cards we played tonight were different than the ones we
played
played
the other day.
last time.
Yeah.
So the tiling aspect and what you're trying to collect is going to be slightly different from game to game depending on the cards that you put
I
out.
think one other key thing with the drafting is you're not, even for different player counts, you're not just, here's the 10 tiles that we're drafting. There's cards that are randomized that we're going to pull out these specific ones for this card. So it's different every time. It's there's going to be more of this shape and less of this shape this round, which will mix up everybody's choices on what they might be going for.
Yeah, and there's a special event that happens
Right.
each day as well. And sometimes they're like, yay, jackpot, we get a bunch of extra stuff. We had one time where it reversed, so all the ones that were supposed to be face up or face down, face down or face up.
No. Everything that was face up, face down. Everything that's face down was face up. So
Is it mostly face down then?
I don't remember. It just was
the opposite of what it would normally be.
Yeah, just simple stuff, but each round does feel a little different because of that, which is cool.
I do like that it plays up to 5, so 1 to 5 players. And we played 5 players tonight, and I didn't feel like I was waiting a lot of times. There's only a couple times when you're sort of setting up the round, where you're like making sure you have all the tiles out. There's a little bit of setup for each round, which could be a negative, may not. I was able to start setting up while other people were taking their turns, but I like that it plays 5 players, and it plays well.
Yeah, it does play well at 5 players. I agree.
I think it gives you. I think it probably plays better. It gives you more choices,
more choices.
of things to choose from. Now, maybe if you have problems making decisions, it might slow things down. But it gives you.
There was only one turn where it's like,
oh
no. Yeah, we have not personally played it at lower player counts.
We don't play a lot of low play count.
This does play with 1 player. How does it?
It's a solo
It has
game.
solo
Yeah.
rules.
Yeah, solo rules.
But yeah, for my play style, I do think the 4 to 5 is probably better because there's more things to swap and trade with.
Cool. So conclusions? Any final thoughts?
I enjoyed this one. The last couple from Stonemaier haven't really been my flavor of game.
Okay.
And I wouldn't have really thought this one was by the looks of it, but I can play the snot out of this. It was a good time. I would play it a bunch.
Yeah, I agree. I'd definitely play this again, even though
What
the
do you think-
mechanics aren't always my favorite.
What do you think Ryan would think? Because he likes those mechanics even less, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah, he probably does. I don't know. I have no idea what Ryan would think about this game. I think he'd think it was okay, but tile placement and things like that.
Sometimes Ryan will just
He likes drafting, though.
He does like drafting, and Ryan will sometimes, if he's not good at a mechanic, he will just wild card it and go totally random.
I can see him spinning his die or his thing
and then
to be
like,
I'm just going to
everybody
take all the face down, and it's just going to be random. Like, I can see that happening with Ryan, and he may do really well.
I would say it's definitely a game that I've enjoyed. Out of all the games that I've played this year, it's definitely, I don't know if it's like the top 5, but it's enjoyable enough that it's up there.
Well, it helps when you win every time.
By a lot.
Sure, yeah, but I think
by 100 plus points.
no, 50 points.
Okay,
50
it felt
points.
like 100.
Kevin's using his magician hypnotism to
Take this tile.
Take these tiles. I honestly, this past game, I was just trying to get first player to take Sarah's because she had a power that let her get more tiles. So her
cut.
offering was way more.
She always had a lot of choices.
yeah.
Which actually helped with some of the goals, which is like filling in. So
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a good. Complexity wise, I would say that this is maybe entry level plus. It's not a difficult
not a
game.
difficult
I mean, there's
I'd
you
say
have to
it's
keep
plus, though,
scoring
because there's
in
a lot
mind.
of there's a lot of individual things that have to be
maybe
figured out.
like
There's not one
Yeah, there's
main
levels, but it wasn't like the rule set was hard.
No, and gameplay
But I
wasn't
think
hard
you
either.
could definitely play this with younger players. The box says 14, but you could definitely,
Oh, yeah.
if there was an adult making sure that the right tiles were out and managing all of that stuff, or you're supposed to focus on animals or whatever the stamp type that person, a kid had, you could definitely play it with younger kids too.
So besides board games, what do you collect? And do you think you'll be adding this one to your collection? Let us know in the comments. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, following along, liking all of our videos here at Tantrum House.
big thumbs up for me.
Just kind of ended there. Stamp swamp. Kevin keeps saying swamp.
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 It was totally coming up.